Hello, Victorians. Welcome back. Um, we continue our journey as Ottoman Empire to become the healthy man of Europe. We have successfully finished our Tanzimat modernization effort in Turkish, meaning reorganization, in the first 15 years of the play. We are currently ranked as a number 5 country in the world after Great Britain, France, Russia, and Austria, and followed by Prussia and the United States. We have, to a certain extent, consolidated our grip in the pivotal region around Ottoman Empire. We have Persia as our subject as a puppet. We have Kalat, um, which is a dominion, and when time comes, we will reduce their autonomy to make them into a puppet as well. We have also expanded into the Arab Peninsula, have a couple of subjects there. Going forward, I think we're going to do a couple of things. We will continue our expansion in Africa because to become the healthy man of Europe, we will need to be the most powerful country in the world. Um, and to realize that we will need to have a much bigger power base. And because we are checked in Europe, by Austria, Russia, so we will have to expand elsewhere. And Africa seems to be a very natural choice. We already have a foothold in Africa, although, in North Africa, we'll start expansion in South Africa. We have researched our um, oh, we have researched our colonial technology. Um, oh, no, we haven't. We will start colonizing Africa once we have researched colonization and pass the relevant colonial laws. Another choice is to expand in Asia. Um, Similar to Africa, Asia has a lot of small countries, and of course, ultimately, there is China, Greater Qing, as well as Japan. That serve as very good expansion targets. They have a lot of populations, a lot of resources. We may also start expanding in Southeast Asia, in the Indochina Peninsula. So these are the two geographic pivot we have. In terms of domestics, of course, the most important thing is to accelerate the industrialization. So in Victoria 3, the industrialization is arguably the most important thing. And to couple the industrialization, economic development with a accommodating legal, cultural, social system. And so currently we have intelligentsia as the only interest group in the government. They're of course very progressively minded, but they only have 11.7% of clout, whereas we have quite a number of other types of interest groups that are very fragmented and for various reasons are not included in our government. So having a more representative administration is also going to be very important. And I think ultimately we will need to have a more inclusive cultural system. Um, Ottoman Empire, I think in history, they suffered a lot of setback because they couldn't manage the ethnic conflicts within a vast empire. And to avoid that mistake, we will need to build a more inclusive society so that other ethnics are not discriminated against in our nation. With that being said, we will continue our journey. Some of you may have realized that we haven't been very elaborate about, well, anything other than military efforts. So we will take this as a opportunity to review where we are in terms of domestics. We are still a monarchy. We are a autocracy. We have national supremacy. And but like I said, we want to go racial segregation, maybe cultural exclusion as soon as possible. We don't have, we don't have a modern army. We have peasant levies as the way our army is modeled. We're in the progress of pushing for National Guard as internal security mechanism. Traditionalism as economic system, mechanism, land-based taxation. We still have serfdom, which we want to get rid of. We don't have any colonial apparatus. We do have dedicated police force. Have no school, have no health. Uh, we have censorship. There's no workers' right. Child labor is allowed. Women are under guardianship of men. There's no social security. There's no migration control, which, from a population growth perspective, is good, but because our standard of living is not very high, so nobody want to move to our country. And lastly, we have moved from slave trade to legacy slavery, but we do want to move to slavery banned when it musters more support. So like I said, let's continue industrializing our economy, which is the most pressing priority now, and pretty much the only thing we can do. We need to watch our infamy level very carefully. Currently, it's 33%, 33.3, which is a little bit higher than we would like it to be, but not too bad. So once it cools down a little bit, we'll continue our expansion, geographic expansion in Africa to thrust into Central Africa. And coupled with, hopefully by the time the newly researched the colonial method, we can accelerate our expansion in Africa, which will bolster our geopolitical position and allow us to achieve healthy man of Europe mission objective. Another thing is we need to fix our financials. We're bleeding money. Biggest our revenue is stable. Our expense has also been stable. Probably need to get rid of more army. Um, yeah, we have 173 battalions, which is quite a lot if you think about it. The reason why I don't think we need that big an army is because we don't see ourselves getting into a military conflict um, with any major power anytime soon. I mean, the distant possibility is we run into a war with Russia, which technically happened, in history. In the Crimean War happened 2 years from now. But even in Crimean War, Ottoman Empire was assisted by Great Britain and France. Um, so I don't think we need, for national security, I don't think we need that big an army. Um, yeah, France doesn't have any defensive pact, so maybe we'll enter into some defensive pact with France. Let's see if we can push for some legislation. Maybe we'll push for land voting. Nobody seemed to be opposing that. Seems to be the least resistant path anyway. Britain has started a diplomatic play against Egypt to conquer three states, Blue Nile, Eritrea, and Kordofan. For us, that is not a good news. Actually, it's pretty bad news. Yes, very bad news. Because we have our own design on Egypt. Our goal is to actually take exactly. Oh, Egypt gave in. So they gave Eritrea to Great Britain. Um, I guess that means that we will have to resume our struggle with Egypt as soon as our truce expires, which still has 2 years to go. The reason why we want to take upper part of Egypt, western part of Egypt, the Upper Nile, is because this borders a lot of those non-centralized nations, and as I mentioned, they are very good colonization targets. France wants to enter into a trade agreement with us. It's a good sign. Hope we can turn France into a military ally. That would be enormously beneficial, helpful in our future endeavor. Especially considering France and Russia are actually rivals. Colonization is unlocked. Although because we're still stuck in the legislative mire to pass land and voting law, we still do not have colonial law, and therefore there's nothing we can do. So this Eritrea that Great Britain took from Egypt not so long ago now now is in a uprising war. So we can offer support. As for trade agreement, obligation. Yeah, I guess we can. Why not? We can trade Great Britain with an obligation to help them with the war. But now that Britain owes us an obligation, I'm thinking of using it in our war with Greece, where Russia is going to intervene. So it'd be nice to use some British help. There's three countries that potentially will be involved: the Great Britain, the France, and the Darfur, which is this part. Egypt has no army at all, and they have like 10 battalions. I think they will try very hard to sway someone. So yeah, we've already gone above 50, so I think we're gonna ask for cooperation, because why not? See how it goes. Romanian Declaration of Principles. The Romanian will honor agreements. Stick to secret goal. Ooh. Okay. So Romania will, so as we have mentioned in the Greek episode, this part, Moldavia has become known as United Principalities. I think eventually Wallachia will join them. The Wallachia population is 100% Romania. Oh, Russia has given United Principality this corridor to Black Sea. Interesting. They are still a subject of ours. And because Egypt failed to sway anyone, this war has no suspense at all. Our 100 battalions crushed their 10 battalions. It's a one-sided war. Yeah, we're done. War is over. Finally, we have land and voting. And we have new parties, as well as election. I think I will go with army plus church. That's an interesting combination. I think I'll go with professional army, just to give our military a little bit boost, and it doesn't really irritate anyone. In the meanwhile, we can see that Austria has become Austria-Hungary as a result of mounting pressure from the Hungarian ethnicity in the empire. It was also a historical event. We will keep reducing autonomy of our subjects or annex them wherever possible. You can always reload the file if it doesn't go the way you expected, depending on how much you really want it. Now we have professional army. There should be a boost to the interest to the political clout of armed force. So the political movement to enact the homesteading has turned into a potential revolution. But the radicalism is only 62, so it will not lead to a civil war right away, or I mean necessarily. We'll push for the charity hospital law first before we um, turn on the homesteading law enactment. We still have a very weak coalition government. We're 1 point below the 50 threshold of legitimacy, which puts a penalty on a lot of different things, our legislative pace, as well as number of radical people, approval of opposition, etc., etc. And finally, we need to take this on. We need to enforce homesteading, which very likely will lead to some revolution. So it's a very profound impact, this enactment effort from our side. First off, that will placate the current ongoing revolution tendency by rural folks, industrialists, and intelligentsia. But that will also make local governors extremely unhappy, and I think very likely try to instigate a revolution. That will greatly boost the approval rate of the peasants and the industrialists alike, as well as the intelligentsia. Armed force, they don't really care about this. And church are relatively happy because we recently passed the charity hospital law. We have a 50%, it's a 50-50 chance between success and loss. So the enactment process itself looks fairly hopeful. And of course, the quicker we go through this political minefield, the better. And of course, landowners are trying to start a revolution, which currently is running at critical. We'll also invite Ali Pasha, who has been around, meandering for a while. But now it seems that if we invite him, he will join to the movement to enact homesteading. Okay, so we passed the first threshold, and also because of the return of Ali Pasha, our success rate has gone up to 75%. Meanwhile, France and Germany has gone to war again. I think we're going to have the homesteading law upon the closure of this enactment cycle. Um, there's a unification war in Ethiopia. Um, yeah, we do. Um, Shua is antagonist towards us, and Tigray is genial towards us. So maybe we can offer Tigray um, some help. And and then yeah, mm, maybe maybe go after Shiwa. I think there is a political movement to enact racial segregation, which we kind of need anyway. But I also really want the colonial law, but racial segregation probably will have a better chance. That will bring down the approval rate of the church by 5, which is not the end of the world. Um, that will greatly reduce the number of people who are discriminated against in our country. As I have mentioned, it's very important for the long-term development of the country, a multi-ethnic country like the Ottoman Empire. So yeah, we need that. And then after that, we'll try to enforce enact some colonial law so that we can start colonizing. Yeah, France and Britain have been very active. Let's see what we can offer them. We can go to war by turning Shua as a protectorate. That will give us a 20 infamy. Yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. And say yes. So, like I said, the relation between Austria and the Ottoman are very ambivalent. They uh, share the border that used to be the demarcation line between Asia and Europe, Muslim world and the Christian world, and as a result have gone to war multiple times in history. But in the 19th century, uh, because Austria was blocked in its northern expansion by Prussia, it kind of turned away from European matters and focused on, uh, the Southeast Europe as well as Minor Asia affairs. The um, founding of the unification with Hungary, the forming of Austria-Hungary, Hungary was kind of a result of that. It also became more uh, engaged with with the Ottoman Empire, and ultimately in history, as a result, this warming relationship between Austria and Ottoman will lead to the Central Power alliance in World War I, where um, the German Empire, Austria, and the Ottoman Empire team up as one side in faced with Britain, France, and Russia. And seems that this is, at least when it comes to Austria, is geopolitically what's going on in this game as well. So we are now in alliance with Austria, although in alliance in this version of Victorious doesn't really mean as much as it used to anymore. But we alliance with Austria, which allow us to be a little bit more aggressive in our future expansion in Central Asia as well as in Africa. So now we have Showa as our protectorate, um, and the Tigray after we have helped them in this war, have become cautious towards us. Okay. What you gonna do? People are weird. Um, we will finish Egypt. I think that's what we're going to do. As soon as the war, Austria, between Austria and the independence movement in northern Italy is over. Um, now that we have Austria as our ally, I think we're gonna do some speculation in Greece because we have a claim um, on two parts of Greece. Um, I think in Attica and Peloponnese. Peloponnese. So the obligation Great Britain owes to us will expire in a year, so we need to use that. Um, to that end, I think what we're going to do is to invade Greece. And that will almost certainly get Russia to intervene. Um, and we will get Great Britain, we're calling the favor from Great Britain to help us. To do that, we will need to capitulate in this war. So leave Austria to fight alone. They're doing well anyway. Um, and then we will start a return stay diplomatic play against Greece. We also have racial segregation. Um, so we will need religious school and then colonial resettlement. That's our legislative agenda. Okay, unsurprisingly, Russia sided with Greece. Okay, we will calling over Great Britain. Yeah, we will also. I'm thinking of take something from Russia. Um, maybe take some border Bessarabia. Um, oh, costs, Russian costs. Greater Caucasus is mostly Georgian and Orthodox, whereas Azerbaijan is Muslim, it is Shiite Muslim, and the Azerbaijani they share our cultural traits, heritage. Uh, yeah, I think that's what we're gonna do. We're gonna take this part. Yeah, we need to be careful about which states to introduce to our country before we have invented multiculturalism. Otherwise, those populations are going to be discriminated and become radical at given time. We have 72 maneuver points. We're going to take Russian costs. Going to take Armenia. I'm gonna take um, Azerbaijan, um, which jack up our infamy level to 83. Um, and then we will try to sway Austria. Um, we can give Austria an obligation, sway them. Or we can just call in the, yeah, call ally. Um, I think that's it. So I think what we're gonna do is um, we're gonna deploy our second army to the Greek front, and just steamroll it as quickly as possible. Um, and after that, we're gonna turn back to fight the Russians. Okay, so we have completely occupied um, Greece. We now have two fronts left. Should be no suspense in this war left over. Greece will capitulate very soon, after which it will be, the three countries, Britain, Austria, and the Ottoman Empire versus Russia. It's a little bit like the Crimean War, um, where, the European powers team up with the Ottoman to check Russia's expansionism. And in Russia, we have a breakthrough on both frontiers. We have a overwhelming advantage. So Russia and Ottoman Empire have, as I have mentioned in the first episode, gone to war for a total of 12 times in history. By 1836, they have had 10 wars, 10 or 9 wars. I think Russia won most of them, if not all of them. The Crimean War was the first major Ottoman victory in history. Of course, in this game, it didn't really happen. So Austria is our ally. They are in alliance with us. They are in a rivalry with the United States. I don't know why they're being embargoed by Germany, Prussia, but they're not embargoing back. Back to Russia, 12 war in history made this one of the top 3 worst diplomatic situation in human history. The worst was, of course, between France and England, and second was Denmark and Sweden. I think another thing that teaches about um, this war teaches from this war is that our army is also pretty good. I think our offense is pretty on par with those major European powers, um, which gives us more confidence in our future pursuits. Yeah, we have a breakthrough. We have pushed into the heartland of Russia. Um, from now on, it should be very quick because it's almost impossible to organize any meaningful defense once you push into the steppe of Russia. And that's exactly what happened, like in Napoleonic War, as well as in World War II. And that's why Russia as a nation is always so paranoid about being invaded. Um, because it's very difficult to organize some serious defense across such a vast expanse. In history, after the Crimean War, eventually the Ottoman Empire would join Austria and Germany in World War I to fight Russia, along with France and Britain. Yeah, they should say yes to the peace proposal very soon. At one point in World War I, Britain and France were trying to supply Russia through Black Sea, but was blocked by Turkey, which eventually led to a revolution in Russia. So you could almost say that it was the Ottoman Empire that sealed the fate of the Russian Empire. It's like Ottoman Empire finally had its revenge at Russia, although the cost is its own demise. Okay, and now the war is over. Not only we have taken those states from Greece, we have also taken Azerbaijan, Armenia, and Russian cars from Russia. So Russians must hate us even more now. Yeah, minus 1425. Good.